If you say yes to the following questions, I don't think you should hire me. I don't think you should hire any wedding DJ. I think you should hire a wedding band. Beautiful party people, it is Trego with Trego the DJ, and we are back with some unsolicited wedding advice because no one asked for it. Wedding bands, are they awesome? Yes. Wedding bands, are they for you? Maybe. Let's find out. First thing to consider when booking a wedding band is cost. They are expensive. They range anywhere from $3,000 all the way up to $10,000. And if you're in Arizona, as we know from previous videos, the average wedding costs $29,000. So if you're trying to stay within that range and you drop 10 grand on a wedding band, there goes a lot of your flexibility in your budget. Another thing to consider is space. Your wedding venue might not be able to fit your band and all your guests all at once. So consider if your venue can fit 200 people and you invite 200 people, but then you put a stage in for a 10-piece band, you're not going to be able to fit 200 people. So you need to consider, where is the band going? Is there enough space? And is it something that we want to prioritize in our layout? So that was the logistical side. Another huge thing to consider is musical taste. What are wedding bands great at? Well, the oldies, right? So jazz, Motown, soul, 70s, 80s, rock music, and even pop music, to be honest. Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift sounds great as covers of wedding bands. But maybe that's not true to what your crowd is. Maybe you like EDM, maybe you like hip hop. And let's be honest, I only want to hear Big Papa come from Biggie's mouth. I only want to hear Gold Digger come from Kanye's mouth. I only want to hear Martin Garrix's Animals from Martin Garrix. So you have to consider, would I prefer the originals or would I prefer covers of those songs? So I'd say arbitrarily, is most of your musical taste before 1990, 2000, or is it after? If it's after, you're going to want it to feel more like Coachella, you're going to want it to feel more like a club, and a wedding band is not going to be as proficient in that. Wedding bands are awesome. There's 10 people up on stage, 10 times the energy compared to a DJ and whatnot. But one of the setbacks to a wedding band is that they are trained musicians. They have to practice. You can't just go up there and say, hey, can you play XYZ song that they don't know. They're gonna say, sorry, the answer is no. A great example of how a DJ can be much more malleable comes from this past weekend, RJ and Stephanie's wedding. They're huge Disney fans, right? So one of the groomsmen comes up at the very end of the night and goes, hey, the bride wants Circle of Life dedicated to her groom right now. Okay, sounds cool. I throw it on. The bride turns into Rafiki, the groom turns into Simba, he's hoisted up in the air. It was one of the most memorable moments in my career, and I guarantee the crowd is going to remember that link to their wedding for the rest of their lives. Such an awesome moment that wouldn't be possible with a band. So you have to consider, do they have my musical taste? Do we want it to be malleable? Really, the band becomes much more of the focal point, much more of the entertainment throughout the wedding. So if somebody's not dancing, they can watch the band and be super entertained. I will give them that. But at the same time, if you want that energy, if you want that reinforcement that a band has with a DJ, I would recommend adding production, adding trusses, adding moving heads, adding lasers, CO2 cannons, fog blasters, cold floor sparklers. There's a lot that you can do so that during build-ups we can fire off the CO2 cannons, we can fire off the cold floor sparklers, and it can be much more of a production with that added energy that a wedding band would have. Another thing to consider too is you don't necessarily have to choose between a DJ and a live musician. Combos are becoming really, really popular right now. So get a DJ and a drummer, or a DJ and a saxophone player, or a DJ and a violinist. Especially with drummers, we pass off the beat from the DJ to the drummer, and then back to the DJ, we come in with a new song. So you don't necessarily have to choose between the two, and it's much more cost effective, much more space efficient, much more doable, and it creates that live experience for your guests, something that they're gonna come back and be like, wow, they set the bar really high for their wedding. We're never gonna have as good of a wedding as them. So to recap, should you get a wedding band? Well, if you can afford it, if you can fit it in your venue, and if you align with their musical tastes, I say go for it. Wedding bands are always an awesome time. I don't think you're gonna regret it. You're going to have a great wedding, and you followed some unsolicited wedding advice. You guys know the drill. Trego out.